So I believe we all originated from one massive bacteria cell. One oneness that we all came from. See, to my knowledge, science has proven that we all descend from bacteria. And I guess the first thing they would think is that we just came from, a bunch of bacteria or something like that, which is fairly sensible until you take into account that we all had to have one origin. I mean, sure, you can say that all species were developed from separate origins. I've seen some information that says originally that fat cells were formed, and those were the first cells, and then other cells were formed from that. But that's just stuff they get from reading the evidence they find in the remains of the planet. This planet. But what if the history of life forms goes back before the beginning of the planet? You see, my problem with putting everything's origin on this planet, all life forms, is you can't have a universe where you get something from nothing. Everything has to have a source, and because of that, I don't believe that we were, say, invented, and I also don't believe that it's possible for non-living things to invent living things. I think that life is an intrinsic value of the universe. In my video titled Alchemet, I explained how the proton, which is the positive particle that makes up molecules and chemicals, is the earth element, and that the neutron is the fire element, and the electron is the water element. But see, maybe what I should have explained is that the earth element is plants and dirt. Dirt and plants are actually the same thing. Plants are just dirt in a different mode. All plants are sediment. But see, because the earth element is a plant, no matter how small or how simplistic, that there, the first element, the original initial beginning thing, is already alive. So in essence, literally in essence, the entire universe is alive. At least all the earth portion of it, for certain. So, I think that if there is a particle that's in almost every chemical that is alive, then it had to come from something that was already alive. And I believe that that something is a bacteria. Because bacteria can be almost anything. I read in a science textbook when I was a kid that they could combine a very small part of a frog's DNA with a bacteria cell, and that would actually grow completely into an entire frog. So bacteria contains all the ingredients for a life form. And I believe if we all came from bacteria, like science says, that each race or species stemmed off from bacteria and started shooting off in different stems, kind of like a massive tree, all with different branches, branching out from one initial root.
or one initial seed, then I would have to say that um, everything in essence is a bacteria. We're all germs. Every species, every animal and human and everything else, bugs, they all have a nature to populate an area and take it over and use it for their resources and optimize it for their specific living. Everything's a germ. Even plants do that. They take things over. They infect an area, make it theirs, and propagate their species. Germs. We're all infecting everything. And so I think that we all originated from one massive bacteria that divided and divided and divided, and in those divisions engaged in fission with each other. Fission is how most one-celled organisms reproduce, by exchanging different portions of themselves with each other, then going off and dividing. So they increase in diversity by exchanging different portions of themselves. Different optimizations here, different talents there. They switch little organs, little bits inside them, and become a new creature and diversify over time. So I think our diversity grew out of a single massive bacteria. The proper singular term for bacteria is bacterium. So from a single bacterium, we all became many, and many, and many, and many, and many. And I believe that we grew from that. Now, something stands out in this vision I have of the beginning of time. And the point that I'm not sure about is, where did the non-living matter come from? Maybe it came from this massive bacteria, but I see something else there at the beginning of time. I see land already existing, chunks of rock floating in space, iron rock, and water. Lots of oxygen. And there was another point I was getting at. I'll come back to that. But the other point is, I just lost it. Something about right. If well, even if it wasn't, but I think if life was already there at the beginning of the universe, which I think is necessary for life forms to be here, I think that the past, or rather the end of time, and the beginning of time are the exact same moment, and that at the very end of time, we all finally find unity and form into one bacterium, one consensus of one life form, one ground we can all agree upon. And then at that same moment, at the beginning of time, we realize the importance of diversity and individuality, and the need to have many people so we can be together, rather than being so together that can't even distinguish ourselves. One mind, one body. It's kind of crowded and uncomfortable being so close to all those people that you're one with them, being all trapped in one bubble. It's a brilliant idea and a terrible idea at the same time. Because, well, it's like one big hug. It also doesn't promote collective thought. Oh, one thought at a time, one meaning at a time. It's not progressive. And so I think in this incarnation of the universe, this time that we all came from one bacterium, that we reached the 10th rotation, the 10th time we split apart from this bacteria and all came back into one being. I believe that there is a cycle that the universe explodes into many, breaks down, and then collapses, comes back into one over and over and over again, and that's the pattern of the universe. It's like a giant music box constantly winding and unwinding, playing the same song over and over again. And so when I first had my psychic awakening, this idea of the universe exploding and then collapsing, the universe being just one giant explode collapse, that was one of the principles of my entire understanding of the universe, that we're like a music box repeating itself over and over again. And I felt like I was charged with, or challenged with, trying to end this rotation, because life in repetition is hell. If we didn't have to do all the same things over and over again, we wouldn't be so unhappy. You know, get up, go to work, come home, sleep. You know, you're born, and then you go to school or you work so that you can have kids, and they can go to school or work so that they can have kids and they can go to school or work, and that they have kids so they can go to school or work, over and over and over again. And it's the same damn cycle. We're not getting anywhere. Sure, we built more technology. Sure, we made this constant cycle of improductivity more efficient. But we're still doing the same thing, just with better tools. And maybe even a more efficient system of doing it. But we're doing all this work so we can persist. And I believe that I was charged with ending this cycle. Now, there were two main options to end this cycle, and that's for everything to be decimated, for everything to be destroyed, and basically just rot and fester until it's at a point where it's completely unusable and unrepairable, where things become obscure to the point of uselessness and unconsciousness, and essentially nothingness, or more accurately, lifelessness, totally degraded. But then there's also this option of elevating everything, like a Zen, an enlightenment for all, a utopia. But it turned out I couldn't do either of those things because those options were love or death. And I've got too much of a will to live, despite all the times I've wanted to kill myself, and even tried to kill myself. And at the time I didn't know what love was, and really now that I've experienced love, I know that you can't live just for love. There's so many other things in life, and love is just one thing. It's the thing that makes everything else about life better, but it's no good by itself. It doesn't do anything good if you don't have something to invest in it. So, problem I'm faced with now is how do you change the world? How do you make things different? And I believe that managed to stop the course of the rotation before we got to the 11th rotation, which takes us back into the originality, back into the oneness and the mundane, the unmeaning, because as it breaks down into more complicated, more diverse portions, it gets more diverse and there's more reason, and as it collapses into one meaning, it loses its purpose. It becomes about solely just survival. And actually both these things are wrong. To have all these multiple purposes with no one goal is like not being able to steer in one direction and never getting to a destination. But to have no goals, to have everything fulfilled, and to be one, to be at the end of your life, to be at the end of all, and the highest point, the top of the mountain, the top of the pyramid, that's also useless, because then you're not going anywhere. You've reached the destination, and it's an obscure destination with no meaning. It's oneness for the sake of oneness. And I think obscurity is the real hell. But total chaos is hell too. And that's just an example of how chaos and order are both flawed. When they work together, they can be very beneficial. But they contradict each other. So, in a world with both chaos and order, or even either chaos or order, we can't succeed. These are old standards which must be cast away. The universe must no longer be dictated by order and chaos. Normally, and it seems necessary, chaos starts generating randoms, radicals. Everything just different ideas shoots off, new life forms, new mutations, new evolutions, new all kinds of stuff, new species. And then order comes in, and every time there's something wrong with those new species, it eliminates all the problems with it. It corrects everything. So you got a randomizing force and a correcting force. Together, they make so many ideas that you have to have a good one, and then you perfect it so many times that it has to turn out just the right way. But the problem is that because they're random, You get everything if you live long enough. You get every single thing that can happen does happen. And then if it's always being corrected, then it's always constantly being optimized. And the same one thing is the most optimal thing. And that's for us to all be one invincible life form. And the most random thing, well, I guess there's not a most random thing, but chaos is always invariably going to bring us back to the life form that survives the best, because all that chaos is going to destroy everything that can't survive. So something that's featureless and has just the bare minimum means to survive, but can survive in almost any condition and can eat almost anything and can survive off almost nothing, that's still going to be the thing that's most optimized to order. So it's not our government's fault, and it's not our own fault, and it's not actually anyone's fault that we have all these problems and all these issues in society that we can't solve. It's actually the system of the way that nature currently works, that we have chaos and order, and they keep interrupting each other and making our lives impossible, because chaos makes us die. It provides us with so many threats that we are invariably going to die of some kind of sickness or murder or accident or just plain the wear and tear of chaos on us, eventually breaking us down. And then the autocorrect of chaos the autocorrect of order, I should say, just eventually says, you are too worn down, you have become a problem, you're slowing everyone else down, your mind is getting numb, your brain is dissipating, everything about you is breaking down, you must be eliminated, you are a virus, you are detriment to yourself and to others, because you're sitting there suffering and you're making everyone else have to work to support you. And you have no immune system anymore because you're so old, so you're getting sick, blah blah blah. Either way, we all get destroyed with this system of order and chaos. And I tried to use the same system and just make it go backwards, but it does exactly the same thing, just backwards, just in a different direction. It's one way's yin and the other way's yang, basically. So we gotta, or I gotta, it'd be nice to have some help. Something has to change where we don't follow this system of order and chaos anymore. And I think that it's impossible for them to be actually eliminated. And destruction is bad, so maybe that's a place I shouldn't tread. But it is possible for other orders of nature to be invented, for something to be put in place that changes our need for chaos and order and the meaning of the way we flow through life. And I think that's why the cycle had to be broken. If it's a ring, then its beginning is its end, and every idea that is come up with is just an old idea happening again. And of course, it's not exactly the same every rotation, because there's chaos, and chaos makes it different each time. It takes things and randomizes it. So it actually seems that chaos and order, although they are hellish, are both necessary. So the question is, do we need to create two new laws besides chaos and order? Or are there laws already present that need to be used more? Or do chaos and order need to be carried out to a further potential than they can currently reach? Or is there some kind of magic or something we can create that, or invent, or that allows us to have a new world? Perhaps we're doomed. But I don't believe that. I believe that everything's going to be resolved, because it has to be resolved, because this is the final straw. Life has pushed us too far and tested our limitations too much. We're in this hellish place and everything's getting worse and worse. We need to stand up and change the universe. Not just change our way of thinking, no, that's too small. But change the way the universe functions. We got these three elements, earth, fire, and water, that every other element is made out of. Maybe we need a new element. Maybe we need to eliminate an element. Maybe we need to modify an element. But what I know is that there are two paths in life. There are two options for every single situation, and they're always there. They may have diverse other paths that stem off them, but there are still always two main schools of thought that you may take in order to continue further. And when you use them together, it seems to benefit you more. It gives you more strength, but it doesn't actually help you. It actually ends up screwing you in the long run, because it all comes back on you. But if you choose one or the other, you get results right away, and they're more direct and not just seeming like they're fucking around with you. But what those two options are not chaos and order, but creation and destruction, which either one can be done in a chaotic way or an ordered way. Hi, John. I'm doing a video. See, creation benefits more from chaos, because then it can produce more ideas, and destruction benefits more from order, because then it doesn't destroy itself, usually. But that's kind of a mismatched way of doing it. And without either chaos or order, either one of them can just kind of be pointless and mundane and have no goal. So, I'm getting close to the half-hour mark. I guess I'll have to do more research into it. I think what would be necessary is creation, but with both order and chaos. And then it needs another ingredient, another idea, willpower. And I'll have to decide what I direct my will towards. So let's see, just let me kind of recap this in my mind. I want to change the current flow of order and chaos and their meanings and our mundane lifestyle leading to the same things over and over again. And I want to use creation and not destruction. So it wouldn't actually be good to use order and chaos in that situation. I'll have to somehow bend the creative energy into some kind of mystical organism that reorganizes the order of the universe. I'll have to try that out. I'll get back to you when I have more on that, but yeah, bacteria. Look it up, it might be interesting.